Oh, it's not 9 o'clock yet. Okay, it is 9 a.m., September 22nd, 2025, and this is the regular council meeting for the town of Rocky Mountain House, and I'll call the meeting to order. The town of Rocky Mountain House wishes to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is Treaty 6 territory and a traditional meeting ground and home for many Indigenous peoples, including the Blackfoot, Cree, Saulteaux, Stoney, and Métis. Moving on to the adoption of the agenda. We have an agenda here in front of us. Anything needs to be changed? Councillor Schipholt.
I also make a motion that we approve the agenda as submitted.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. We have no delegations, so we're moving on to the previous minutes of the August 19th meeting. Any changes, errors, or omissions from that meeting that need to be done? If not, we're just looking for a motion. Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I move that we accept the minutes from the August 19th, 2025 as presented.
Okay, thank you very much for that motion. Discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. So we'll move straight on to new business, 8.1, the ICF draft. Mr. Kraus.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. So just to introduce this to council, as council is aware, both Clearwater Council and Town Council embarked quite a while ago to review the Stronger Together Agreement and our ICF agreement to amalgamate them into one agreement. And the ICC has had several meetings in doing that and making that revisions. And then council held a workshop with Clearwater County just a couple of weeks ago to review the amalgamated agreement. And with some minor revisions, it's being presented to council today for adoption. So basically it replaces our current Stronger Together agreement and updates our current ICF, which basically, as the council's aware, I'm trying to introduce it, but goes through what services we provide jointly, a commitment to collaboration in the future, and some ideas for consideration in the future for more collaboration on different services. So with that, Acting Mayor, I'll leave it to council to discuss.
Okay, so everyone's aware of this agreement because we have the workshop on this. Is there anything that council needs to bring forth or discuss? Councillor Schipholt.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I went through it. I was very impressed. Everything we talked about was addressed. They did a very good job, or administration did a very good job on that. So having said that, I'd so be prepared to make the first motion. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hutchinson has something to add before I do that.
Deputy
Thanks.
Mayor Hutchinson.
Just a question on the first page. So they just have Rocky Mountain House / Clearwater. Wondering if county, if when they, cut and pasted it, did they want county in there or not? So that's just a minor, just something I noticed. Might be something to bring up with the county if it's something that they feel they want county, not just Clearwater.
I would suggest they did it that way because it doesn't say Town of Rocky Mountain House. So it's Rocky Mountain House, Clearwater. So, but if council wants to make that revision, you can request it from the county.
Well, I noticed throughout different parts on it, they say Clearwater County. Like when you go through the rest of the document, like on page 9, background, Clearwater County and the town of Rocky. So it is referenced throughout the document, pretty much throughout everything else in the document. And again, it doesn't matter to me. I just thought they might be something. The county has it at their meeting next week. So just an observation, and whether this council feels it should be added, I don't know.
Councillor Schipholt.
I'm okay with the way it is. The notion of the document is there. typically, if they wish to change it, they wish to change it. I think it's just a housekeeping item, and we'll let them decide what they want to do for their name. I think the meat and potatoes of it is what we want, and I think that's the most critical part of this document, is to make sure going forward we know where we're heading. And I think this document covers that off quite well. So I'll just make the motion that it resolve the council give first reading to bylaw number 2025-15 to adopt the intermunicipal collaboration framework as presented.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Do we have any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call it to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. And Councillor Caprero.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and make the second motion. Be it resolved that council gives second reading to bylaw number 2025/15.
And thank you for that motion. Discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call it to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. And
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Just going around the room. Again, I agree with what Councillor Chappelle had said about the work that's been done on it, and very good collaboration between the town and county. So having said that, be it resolved that council give unanimous consent to proceed with third reading of bylaw 2025/15.
And thank you for that motion. Discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. And Councillor Busker.
Well, thank you, Acting Mayor. Just a comment too, I really like the document. I think it's great that we amalgamated two. I like to see things kept concise and to the point. This one doesn't go on and on unnecessarily, so I'll make the last motion. Be it resolved the council give third and final reading to bylaw 2025/15.
Okay, and thank you for that motion. Discussion? Just echoing what the rest of council has said, this is a document that will guide both councils for many years to come, and it's great to see the town and county collaborating and working together and creating a better community for all of us. So no discussion on that motion. I'll call it to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to item 8.2, municipal affairs topics. Mr. Kraus.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. So at the last council meeting, council tasked administration to come up with a topic that might spark the interest of the Minister of Municipal Affairs for a meeting. The town literally doesn't have any specific item to address that falls under the mandate of municipal affairs, or at least none came to administration's mind unless council has thought of that. But one idea that administration did come up to is talking to the minister about the economic effects of provincial policies on town growth and opportunities, and looking at different segments of decisions of the provincial government, how it affects us, and hits our tax base basically, which is a deterrent for economic growth, or can be a deterrent for economic growth, where larger cities can probably absorb some of these. The rural small towns in Alberta cannot absorb them so easily. And we did provide some examples that we would include if council wanted this. If we look at the policing grant, back in 2008, it was $300,000 per year plus $8 per capita. That hasn't changed since 2008, so it has not kept up with increased policing costs and inflation. So if we added that in, that would be equal $427,000 today. So that's just one of the policy decisions of the provincial government, how it affects us and how we keep absorbing costs. Another example we provided is our residents expect, community services, and health is a major one that's important to our citizens. And the town council supports many health organizations through granting. I think we're around $75,000 per year. So, and health is really a provincial responsibility. But as town council, your citizens expect you to step in to make sure we have those services. But again, it's a provincial responsibility with a lack of provincial funding for some of these specific services needed in our community. So that could be another example. And I think we use FCSS, as an example. The province, provides 80% of the funding for FCSS, which can only be used for social services, but not health. So if FCSS scope was, increased or something similar set up to FCSS, where council can take care of the local health issues that often are overlooked or brushed aside by the provincial government because it's more of a localized, that would be an assistance to our community, and also help, the tax burden on citizens. So that is just one idea that administration came up with. I'm not sure if council would want to approach the Minister of Municipal Affairs on this item, but I'll leave it up to council.
Okay, I've got Deputy Mayor Hutchinson and then Councillor Schiffel.
Yeah, along the lines of the healthcare, I had put down about the municipalities and how we're using local tax-funded initiatives to attract and retain healthcare workers. And depending on the municipalities, I mean, it's an unfair playing field. We've got some municipalities that have anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 of taxpayers' money that is being put forward as incentives to retain healthcare professionals. And, then you've got smaller municipalities, it could be larger municipalities that just haven't got the extra funding to be able to. And we see that with, there's the Stettler Hospital, I believe, that just is overflowing with doctors compared to some of the others. So that was something that I had in the top of my mind.
And Councillor Schiffel.
Thank you. The other thing is, for the list possibly would be, we're putting forward a resolution along with the City of Edmonton about the taxation model that's presently used with education tax being taxed through municipal governments. And I think it may be, since we're the community putting that forward, it may be worth having that discussion with the minister to discuss why we're putting it forward. And just to reiterate what's going on, I'm sure that resolution will get passed at the Alberta Munis, but I think it may be worthy to take it further and talk to the minister directly about it. So I'm just throw that one out there.
Yeah, I actually had that one on my list of things because we are putting that resolution forth that we should address that with him. Another one I was looking at is just the aging infrastructure in general in Alberta when it comes to buildings that typically a lot were built in the 1970s and 80s, and the town of Rocky is a perfect example of that, where all of these buildings are starting to get to the point where they all need to be replaced at the same time, along with the aging infrastructure in the towns that there's an infrastructure deficit that all municipalities are facing, and how are we going to deal with this, because it's not going to go away and it's only going to get worse, and we're going to need the provincial help to address that. Councillor Schiffel.
So I think with the items that we just discussed and what administration's put forward, which I totally agree with, I think we have ample to discuss with the minister, and I think we should be making an appointment and having ourselves in front of him.
Yeah, I agree. Anytime we can get a cabinet minister in front of us and have his attention, we want to take advantage of that. So is someone prepared to make a motion to that effect? Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
I'll make the motion. Be resolved, the council request a meeting with Minister Williams at the AB Munis conference regarding the topics presented. What? 3?
Well, it doesn't have to be 3, but we should list the topics that council
Okay.
wants to discuss.
So regarding the following topics related to the economic effects of provincial policy on town growth and competitiveness. Does that work?
Okay, thank you for that motion, Deputy Mayor. Discussion on that motion? Okay, all those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to item 8.3, the library board appointment. Mr. Kraus, this is a housekeeping thing for the library board.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. So under the Library Act, the town of Rocky created the library board. So under that act, it is town council that has to make all appointments to the library board. and through our agreement with Clearwater County, they also appoint, but that appointment also has to be ratified by town council. So this is basically a housekeeping item where Clearwater County has appointed this person to the library board. So now it just needs to be ratified by town council.
And Councillor Caprero.
If there's no discussion on it, I'm prepared to make the motion. Be it resolved that council appoints Councillor Gibson to the Rocky Mountain House Municipal Public Library Board from January 7th, 2025 to October 20th, 2025.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. And moving on to item 8.4, public member remunerations. And Mrs. Breeze is going to take care of that.
Good morning, Council, or Acting Mayor and Council. So Rocky Mountain House boards and committees are comprised of council representatives, members of the public, and representatives of organizations or groups. So each year, Town Council appoints community members to serve on these municipal boards and committees. And this is a wonderful opportunity for residents to take part in the decision-making process on issues that affect our community. Generally, council representatives serve one-year terms, and members of the public can either serve two-year terms, three-year terms, or sometimes even one. It depends on the bylaw. And members can be reappointed for successful terms. So recruitment is in progress right now. It happens every fall. Typically, these terms are effective November 1st unless otherwise stated. The town has various boards and committees. The remuneration policy is in much need of being updated and needs some revisions. So basically right now, administration is looking for direction from council on how they would like to proceed. So in your package, in the report, administration went and tried to search as many similar sized communities, trying to pull policies. The direction we discovered was a lot of these policies are either becoming non-existent or they're taking the remuneration out of the policy and it's volunteer basis. The only exception are the committees and the boards that are like SDABs that require specific training and sometimes hours and hours of looking into reports because they're making a major decision on a quasi-judicial board. So right now, like I said, administration is looking for direction on council, how they would like to proceed and what they would like this policy to look for.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Breeze. Discussion. What do we think? Councillor Schipbolt.
So I read through the bylaws that you sent here, and none of them really get me too excited, to be quite truthful. They are very long-winded in what they do. And I'd really like some clarification on the one from Strathmore. If I could have you pull up 8.8 on Strathmore, which basically tells me that if you're a councillor and you determine you're not going to run again, you can't attend or be on a board for 2 years after. It says in here for a 2-year hiatus, and that 8.8, I go like, really? I'm just not sure what they mean by that 8.8 on there. It's almost like if your term is up, you can't sit back on a committee for 2 more years.
I'm just wondering, possibly the intent of that is to have people not be on a board perpetually for for decades at a time, just having a set amount of time and then having to have a hiatus before you can
And I appreciate
reapply.
that. The difficulty you have is getting people to sit on boards to
Yeah.
begin with, and so sometimes that could be an issue. So I'm not sure what that statement means. I read that and I'm going like, craziness. But anyway, and there was a whole bunch of statements in the Strathmore one like that. Their 9F says, if you die. I go like, really? Why would they put the words if you die? I guess pretty black and white. Like if someone passes would be, the wording. And I just read through that and I go, oh wow, the whole bylaw is wrote in that context, almost like a negative context. So anyway, so when I read these bylaws, some of them I just went like, I don't think this is for us. I think the real question is, are people who sit on committees volunteers or not volunteers? And I think that's what we have to determine as a council. Are we paying our people or not paying our people? And I'm of the belief that all people who put their name forward on a board should get some type of remuneration, what it is. When reading those bylaws, they got by hours, and you have to fill out timesheets, and right now we have to fill, our people that sit on boards have to fill out timesheets. And what I hear from board members, community board members, is it's a painful process to remember to have to do that and submit that. If we're going to do it, I'd sooner get to a point where you get so much on a monthly basis, whatever it is, $50 per meeting, and not have to do the timesheet process and whatever. So I know on the Hospital Foundation, many questions have come forward. What do we bill for? How do we bill? How many hours? What is it? It just seems like they just don't do enough committee meetings that we need to have it that black and white. So I don't know, I guess my theory is, yes, we pay them, but we pay them an honorarium just to sit on that board versus a per diem.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you. I don't know how we could keep track of that, or, I mean, that would be putting, I mean, staff still has to, like, when they get a timesheet in, they need the minutes to see that that person was actually at the meeting. I don't think there's any way of getting around board members having to fill out some type of a timesheet. What I did, I mean, we're really looking actually only at two: the FCSS, library, policing committee, I guess. The healthcare and professional engagement team, we are meeting tomorrow, and because that's now become a society as of last October, the bylaws will all be reviewed, and there's nothing in there at this time stating that, or they do state right now that there'll be no remuneration given to any of the board members, so that one will be questionable, I guess, what direction we go to. But I think if it's just FCSS, library, and policing, I'd be in favor of just continuing on with, what are we doing, $60 a meeting? And having to fill out, and maybe the boards themselves have to have, at each meeting, have the timesheets there so that those people are signing in. I don't know, there might be a different path to go that way, but that's my thoughts.
Councillor Caprero.
Thank you. Something that I wanted to bring forward as well, the Community Events Committee, that's a working committee. These guys put in a lot of time. It's a lot of time to prepare, run around, do the things that we need to do, and then when we host our events, they're all day. So I personally feel that if we are doing remuneration and looking at this, then these type of committees where they're working committees should also be entitled to something, because it's a lot of people's time. It really is.
Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Moving towards remuneration, I think, diminishes the whole concept of volunteerism, and so I would prefer to be moving away from it. Volunteering is a great opportunity for people to be involved in their community in a way without compensation. They find other ways to find value in it and to bring value to it. Most people who sign up for boards are probably surprised to find out they're going to get some money for it. I've heard that before. I didn't know I was going to get paid for this. So their heart is in the right place to begin with. That said, the report mentions the policing committee and the SDAB because there are other requirements beyond just putting your name forward. I like the suggestion of carving those two out for consideration. But I would like to keep volunteers as volunteers. Otherwise, we're going to have to change the name of it, because volunteering by nature is without compensation. So then no volunteer shirts, no volunteer name tags, just now your help, now your staff. So that's my thoughts on it. Thank you.
Councillor Schippold.
So I just throw this out there, not that it's, I want to be negative about it, but the fire department is considered a volunteer fire department. But they get paid. So, I mean, the word volunteer is sort of a stretch, and so I just throw that out there just as a for the thought process. I do think if people are putting their time forward to better our community, it's worth something to the community. Yes, volunteering is a good thing, but I think the benefits to the community long-term, Councillor Caparo's example is, to me, exactly that. It makes our community a better place, and should we, reimburse those people and say thank you? I think that's a nice gesture, and I think we can do that and should do that. So I know where you're coming from. Hey, it's a volunteer committee, but in reality, it's for the betterment of our community, and I think we need to give a nudge to some of those people and say, hey, thanks very much for what you've done for us. We're not giving them the farm. We're giving them, in this case, $60. The question would be, if they're there all day, $60 is we're paying them about a few dollars an hour kind of thing. I don't know. I think it really needs to get looked at, and all boards need to be reimbursed.
So just looking at I'll get to you
Yeah.
in a second, Councillor Musker. So looking at our policy now, I mean, we have the MPC, we have the SDAB in there, Parks and Rec Board, which are all gone. So just having said that, of course, this policy needs to be updated just based on that. So I think we definitely need to have this policy looked at. The recommendation is to bring it back to the September 16th meeting. I do agree that, volunteerism is good. However, some of these committees do require a lot of time commitment, and I feel that there should be some type of remuneration for it. And that's something that can be looked at when the draft policy comes back. And Councillor Musker has a comment.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. Is this something that maybe we should put to service level for further discussion rather than making the decision here a month before an election?
Councillor Schipholz, and then we'll go to Deputy Mayor.
The other thing is, we should be paralleling, I feel, Clearwater County and what they do and how they pay. Often I've heard the comment, well, if you are in Clearwater County, you get paid for these. If you're in a town, you don't. And so I think that there needs to be some continuity between the town and the county and how we pay for our board members as well. That wasn't here, but I think that's something that's worthy to look at.
And Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, do you? Yeah.
Just what Councillor Musker said about service level. I guess if this committee, this group, if we're revising it and maybe putting consideration into community events, and maybe it'll be, $60 for something similar with what we do, a 4-hour and then an additional 60 for the next 4, or whatever that may look like. But because it is finances and there is budget implications, then maybe it should go back to service level.
So okay, go ahead.
I guess I would ask administration if, though, they would want the policy in place before November 1st with the turnaround and then it would still be looked at service level.
No, that's at council's discretion. I mean, really, the budget implications are for 2026, so that can be easily discussed at service level, because budget's in process right now, but it won't be passed by the new council until December 2025 or early 2026, but it can go to service level. And if I, just to follow up on Councillor Schipholz, I believe the county pays their volunteer members, they're the same as council's per diem, and which is probably the simplest way, because it's broken down into hourly structures, but you don't get away from the timesheet then. But because I know when we draft this new policy, what administration is going to do is we don't intend to list the committees, because that can change at a council meeting. Council can create a new committee. Then we would have to go and constantly update the policy, but criteria for committee members, basically. But to answer the question, it can definitely go to service level. There's no rush, but it's in policy that needs updating for sure.
So I guess we have two options right now. One is to bring it back to administration. They can bring back the policy at the September 16th meeting, or the second one is to put it to service level. Because it does have some, even though it's minor, it still has some budgetary implications. What does council want to do with that? Councillor Shippold.
I think we take it to service level. It's not an earth-shattering thing, but yet at the end of the day, it has implications on several volunteers in our community. So I think got to make sure we make the right decision. So I think a robust conversation at service level is probably where we need to take this.
Okay, so is someone prepared to make a motion that we put this to service level? Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'll do that. I move that we send the request for decision, the public member remunerations discussion topic to service level. Is that adequate?
Excuse me, thank you for that motion. Councillor Shippold.
I'm just wondering if we can add to that what the county does for their program for volunteers as well. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table. Any more discussion on that motion? I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. So moving on to correspondence for action, the Clearwater Regional Advancement Ceremony on October 1st. I am available to attend this. And I don't know if there's any other members of council that would like to attend this as well. Councillor Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
I would like to attend as well, but it's just a PR event, so
Yeah.
we don't,
Yeah, there's no remuneration. or
no
anything.
motion is required. Is there? No. You want a motion? So just, I'll put the motion forward. Anybody wishing to attend the recruitment Clearwater Regional Advancement Ceremony on October 1st to, was there an RSVP or anything on it? No. No, just to show up.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion? Not seeing any, I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to item 9.2, a letter of Councillor Shippold, sorry.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'm just wondering if when we approve things like this, if they can go into our calendars. Just that there was, I go back to the rodeo one where the Chucks were there and I looked at my calendar, didn't see anything, so I didn't attend. So I just want something, I need a friendly nudge to make sure I get my rear there, so. Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to item 9.2, we have the letter of support. Pardon?
No, Tracy's saying no, we didn't.
Okay, sorry, that is my mistake. So all those in favor on that previous motion, and that is carried. Now we can move on to item 9.2, the letter of support for the shelters. So, Mr. Kraus, are you speaking to this one?
Yep, no, thank you, Acting Mayor. So this was a late agenda item after our agenda meeting. And it kind of came in basically because there's a deadline for the group to get their submission into the province for funding for a warming shelter. So they are looking for a letter, or they are required to have a letter of support from the municipality for this program within your community. And the letter, they did supply a template letter which came from the province, which basically requires council to address or specify what type of program the community supports or council supports. And you can see it goes, overnight emergency shelter services, day programming, weather-dependent shelter services, or other. In the past, last year, council supported a weather-dependent shelter service. So I'll leave it up to council to discuss of how they want to support this, or if they do want to at all, I guess. But
Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I was thinking about this while going through the agenda, and I don't know if I missed it, but were we not supposed to receive a report from the last season's? You know, just an operational report on how things went, maybe with some numbers or incident reports, anything like that. I don't recall ever seeing that. Am I wrong, or?
No, I do believe that was forwarded to council, but I don't think it came through a council meeting. But we can definitely, I believe we still have it. Well, we do have it. I can forward that to council. I know we did pay $7,200 towards the shelter last year. And that was based on $300 per night that it was below -20. But
And we still
I
have-
don't think the report actually had statistics, but I'll verify for you.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Kraus, but part of that budgeted dollar amount was for fall of 2025 as well, correct?
Yes.
And Councillor Shippold and then Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'm assuming this came via Candace here. Did she make any recommendation as to what they're planning on doing this year? And were they okay with what we did last year? So if we agreed to what we did last year, is that where they're at? Or do they have a different preference than what we're thinking?
She didn't speak to me directly. She spoke to Miss Breeze, so I'll have Miss Breeze answer that question.
When Candace dropped us off, did she indicate if she was okay with what we provided last year, or were they looking for a different level of support? The letter gives us 4 options, and I just want to know if the option we chose last year would be the one that they're okay with this year, or did she have a preference for a change in the options?
So through acting mayor to Councillor Shippold, she was more panicked about getting this on the agenda. Was her main goal
Okay.
because of the deadline of September 15th. So she did receive an email from CEO Kraus as well about applying for the support, the Town of Rocky Mountain support funding, because we do have that grant every year. So that application's been sent to her. She has mentioned, though, even in an email, that there is, council did make a resolution last year that there'd be $20,000 in the 2025 budget. So she was hoping for the remainder of this year to use some of that for the current shelter and then apply for the additional funding through the Town of Rocky Mountain support funding. So she mentioned, she did mention a few stats about the regular users, and I think there's like 51 people that actually attended the warming shelter over the winter. She said it was very successful. She's got it was a learning experience for them. She does have recommendations moving forward for this next year of what happened last year, because again, it was the first year setting it up. We can definitely reach out and ask her to supply a little bit more information if that's what council would like.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I just want to make sure that we're addressing what they're requesting. And so in this case, if we're doing the weather-dependent shelter services, same as last year, then I'm okay with that. And maybe that's what we just need to do, and think that they want to do the same.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor, did you have a? No, okay. Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'm in full agreement with Councillor Chappelle. If we just want to do a repeat of what we did last year, it seemed to work, we can make that commitment.
Councillor Caprera.
I'd be in support of that as well.
Yeah, Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Well, I guess where I'm sitting, it's not that I'm not in support of it, but our resolution has committed to the end of 2025. So we are covered to 2025. So can we somehow word it in this letter that's where we're sitting? You know, explain that because I'm a little hesitant on putting, like, they've got the funding term on here from November 1st until April 30th. So is there some way of wording it that this is the decision that was made up until December 2025, and then from January 1 to April 30th will be the option of them to apply for the funding or something? I don't know.
So, Mr. Kraus, what would you recommend?
Well, they're looking for a letter of support for provincial funding, so I don't know how much you're going to alter that template letter. Um, I don't know if they're actually if you're making a dollar commitment through the letter. It's just the type of shelter that you want to support.
Deputy Mayor.
Thanks. Well, I'm just reading like under number 2, it's highlighted there, insert funding term. And if there's no commitment on dollar amounts in the letter, I would be in favor in sending it, but I don't want to commit any more money or anything until we get a little bit more information from Candace.
Councillor Schipholt.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I think there's a disconnect between our funding models, or our budget models. So we budget annually, whereas in this case, this is a part of 1 year going into a part of a next year. And I think this program does that. So I think we need to change the way we fund, and fund it according to the term that they're looking for versus our budget term. So although it'd be budgeting this year's funds into next year, I think that we do include what we've budgeted this year in that, in terms of the term, and just change the term to April 30th rather than December 30th or 31st. That would be my understanding. Mr. Kraus, can we do that? Can we change to mimic their funding period versus what the town's budget period is?
I think the way council would have to do that is give them an annual amount, and then they could carry that grant forward into the new year on their own, versus us binding, our council binding a new council into another budget year. So you're actually making a commitment. So I think it'd be more easier and better if you gave them an annual grant, and then how they carry that money forward would be up to them. And so, if that makes sense.
Can we word that letter that way?
The
They're looking
letter.
for an actual term, but can we just word it to say that we have an annual grant allocated of 20,000?
Yes, yeah, so like this year, we actually granted them, I think it was, we did it on a day-by-day basis, but council did budget 15,000, so there's 15,000 that are available to them, so they only used half of it based on the days. So, I mean, council can provide them, can change that, and say for the remaining $7,500, that it just go directly and get rid of the day-to-day basis. And then going into the 2026 budget, you can provide them with another annual grant of 15,000, or the new council. Anticipated grant of.
So you're suggesting this would be no different than the museum or VIC Center? It'd be along the lines of that?
Yeah, and so, so basically, really where it's getting itself to, I mean, I know council really just wanted to base, what council's goal at the beginning of this process was just have a warming shelter on very cold nights. The group took the initiative to expand that and to have basically an open shelter throughout the winter months. But if council is in support of that, and not, then an annual grant makes more sense than a day-to-day basis. Right? So really, it's going down the path where if you look at the medical equipment library that council sponsors, the hospices, you know, where we provide them annual grants, but we don't put stipulations on criteria, right? It's just.
Okay. So that would be a budgetary 2026 item then, to be able to change it over to that format.
Well, council can change, right now, council has a resolution on the books that we pay $300 per minus 20-day with wind chill. But council can change that resolution and say, provide them a grant of $7,500 for the remainder of 2025, and then ask them to go through the supplementary service grant policy, the same as the Hospice Society, the Medical Equipment Library, and then council in their budget discussions can decide how much for 2026, and that would provide funding up front for all of 2026, and then that cycle starts.
Councillor Busker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I really like the sound of that. It's nice and clean, right? Especially since the money's already been set aside for 2025. And what I saw with this is the community uptake and support for it. And we didn't know that was going to happen when we looked at this, right? Certainly, faith groups have gotten involved as well. So I would like to do what Mr. Kraus has suggested, take the remainder, that $7,500 or what it is, and commit for the rest of this year, and then have them go through the application process for 2026.
Okay, so are you making the motion to that effect?
I guess so. Can I turn that into a motion? I'd have to say, be it resolved that, help me out here.
Acting Mayor, Councillor Musker. So I'll just read you the resolution from last year. It was made by Deputy Mayor Dale Shippold at the time. Be it resolved that council raise the daily amount from $250 per day to $300 per day and change the temperature from -25 to -20 up to a maximum of 20,000 for 2025.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Before you go through with the motion, as we reread the letter, there is actually nothing in there to commit to funding. It's just a letter of support that we are supporting some type of assistance to them. So what I'm thinking is we would have a motion to send the letter of support, sign the letter of support for them, and then to have Candace come back to council, because this year is pretty much covered, but come back to, I would assume, the next council or the new council to present what changes they've made, what the scope looks like of their shelter that will be starting in November, and then take that motion or take it to the next level then.
Councillor Shippold.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'm just not so sure we want to get into the day-to-day operations of a warming shelter. I think we give them the money and let them look after it. That's not, and so in this case, I mean, if we want Candace here, I'm not sure, short of the report, if we didn't get a satisfactory report that we were looking for is one thing, but in terms of the rest of it, I think we all have basic knowledge from our previous visits as to what they're trying to provide in our community. So I just want to have a delegation here if we don't need to have a delegation here, per se.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Well, again, I think we're dealing with two different thoughts here. The letter of support as it sits in front of us, and what are we doing on a go-forward basis? Like I said, we've got next, or to the end of this year covered, so we're not sure who's going to be sitting around these chairs in, a short time from now, and that's why I suggest having Candace come back with what worked well, what didn't work well. We wouldn't be going through the day-to-day operations. We still don't want that, but it would be, is it sufficient to do a temperature-based program like we've supported this year, or would it be a preference for them to just say, here's the application, here's your ways of going through and taking the grant and doing with whatever you choose to with that grant money?
Councillor Shippold.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. So I think what we're doing is we have two different subjects here. One is about the budgeting cycle next year and having Candace appear for that. The second one is the letter before us, and if we're going to support that letter. Councillor Musker's put a motion on there that...
No motion yet.
No motion yet? Okay. So the motion is really just to support the letter. And then we got to fill in the blanks, and the only blank that's questioning that we're questioning right now is the blank in here about the funding term, and I think the funding term we've discussed is till December 31st, so I think we've ultimately answered that. And the next statement beneath that could be that it is a possibility that in the 2026 budget, that there'll be money available there. If we're, or it's on the agenda for the 2026 budget. I don't know if we'd need that line or not need that line, but I think if they're looking for budget into 2026, then we need to address that somehow.
Right.
Because it doesn't fall into our cycling, our budget cycling, then we just have to acknowledge that in a letter.
Could it be as simple as just saying the word annually, as opposed to putting in a
Yeah,
term?
so this is a letter of support to the provincial government. Provincial government fully understands budget cycles. So we would just word that in item 2, the town has committed up to $20,000 in 2025 for the program, and it'll be included for consideration in the 2026 budget. And I think what council also needs to answer for the letter is under item 3 of what service you're supporting. So we just need that direction from council to finish the letter.
And Mrs. Breeze has a comment.
Thank you, Mayor, or Acting Mayor. So the way I read number 2 is they just want to make sure that the zoning's not going to change during the winter.
Yeah, just, well, clarification, highlighted is insert funding term and stuff, so we
Yeah.
need to address that, so.
Okay, so let's deal with this letter, the support letter of support. It sounds like we're interested in doing a letter of support, but the question is, are we going to do it with the weather-dependent shelter services, day programming, or overnight emergency shelter services, or something different? Councillor Capero.
If we don't want to delve into the weeds of doing the daily amount and just giving them their grant that they've asked for, that we've given, can we not just do other and then just write like at their discretion? Like, do we have to specify? If we're giving them the funds, they can use it how they need. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Well, and that's kind of where I was going with having Candace come as a delegation. We don't know what, I don't have enough information as to how they were running it last year, what worked well, what didn't work well, and that kind of thing. So I'm almost looking at what's the recommendation coming from that group with what they're doing. Are they moving forward with continuing with an overnight emergency shelter services? I'm assuming that's what they're doing, and not weather dependent. So it's kind of like we kind of need some direction from them, what they're doing.
Well, and just going back to the discussion we had last year, I mean, the town of Rocky Mountain House was looking for a weather-dependent shelter service. That's what we based the funding on. That's what we based everything on. This group has changed that, and they've adapted it and made it into something more comprehensive. But the original goal was a weather-dependent shelter service, and to me, that's the box we should check off here. That's what we had originally intended. That's what we had funded. Yes, this program has changed into something different, but based on what we funded, it was a weather-dependent shelter service. More discussion. It sounds like we're in support of sending a support letter. It's just how that's going to be worded.
I think we're overthinking it.
And I do, yes, I agree with Councillor Capero. I think we're definitely overthinking this one.
I think so.
Councillor Sheffield.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'm just prepared to make a motion, see if it flies or not. And that motion is that we, council support the letter of support, and that we would put the wording in according to our discussions today, and that we would do the weather-dependent shelter services, which is according to our previous motion. So the motion would be that we support the letter and support weather-dependent shelter services.
Thank you for that motion. Do we have any discussion on that motion? Not seeing any more discussion. I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, so moving on in our agenda, we have correspondence for information. We have 2 items there. Is there anything anyone needs to discuss out of the correspondence for information? And if not, then we're just looking for a motion to accept those. Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I move that we accept the correspondence for information as information.
Thank you for that motion. Discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. And moving on to the action list, Mr. Gross.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. So the top two ones there are the feasibility study, and that is coming back to council on September 16th with provisions as requested by council. The next one is inviting the National Police Federation as a delegation. They have informed us that they have no representatives that can come in September, so we are looking to see if we can do the October meeting if council still desires that. Then the following one was the meeting with the Minister of Municipal Affairs, which council addressed today, and that is it for the open items. So.
Thank you, Mr. Gross. Any questions or discussion on the action list? Okay, just looking for a motion to accept that. Councillor Caprero?
Thank you. I'll make a motion to accept the action list as information.
Okay, thank you for that. Discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to administrative inquiries. Do we have any administrative inquiries today? I see Deputy or Councillor Schiphol's hand moving.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Good afternoon, good morning, Mr. Gross. I have a question. I brought this to council before about cemetery plot purchases, and where a family wants to buy 3 plots and wish just to put their surname on those plots and not have first names. And we're advised that no, you had to have a first name on a plot. And so I went back to them and said that, and they came back and said, well, we've talked to other municipalities and they were not aware of that. And what we were told is that under the Cemeteries Act and or our bylaw, that you have to, if you pre-purchase a lot, you have to put the full name of the person that's going on the plot. So these people, when I said that, they went out and they came back and they said, well, they don't think that that's totally correct. And so I read the Cemeteries Act and our cemetery bylaw just to see where they were coming from. And so what they want to do is just put their last name. They want to buy 3 lots, put their last name on it. And what they were advised that no, you got to put a name on that lot, on that plot. And so they're saying, well, that's great, but our plots we can put up to 5 people on a normal plot. You can put a casket and then 4 on top of that. And so they're saying, okay, if I'm putting 5 people on there, what's the difference if I put a last name on that plot, or why does it have to have a first name on that plot? Now, under the Cemeteries Act, it does not. I could not find anywhere in there where it specifically said that you had to put a name. You have to put a name on it, but you don't have to put a first name on it. And it also goes on in there to say if you sell the plot that you purchased, you have to sell it back for the price you paid for it to the municipality, and the municipality has to buy it. So this goes back to the question of why can't we just buy a lot and put our last name on it? And if we buy 3 plots, their last name is on it. So in our cemetery bylaw, it doesn't really specifically say that you have to put a name on it. But what it does say is that you, depending on the plot size, you could put up to 8 people on one plot, but it depends on the plot size. So in there, they're saying, so if we're putting 8 people on there, do we have to put all 8 names when we go to buy the lot at the town? They don't want to buy at a rural cemetery. They told me the county has, I believe, 14 or 12. They checked 2 rurals. One had 14, one had 12. None of them had that on there. None of them said that you had to put a first name on it. You just had to put a last name on it. So they've asked that we come back and have a look at that maybe there was a misunderstanding, or maybe I didn't communicate properly. So I'm hoping in this case I'm communicating properly as to what they're looking for. I said I'd take it back. They just want to put their last name on the plot and buy 3 plots. So I'm hoping that we can maybe change our policy at the front counter that they don't have to put a first name on it. For their reasons. So to you, Mr. Kraus, I'm going to leave this in your hands. And they give me all kinds of background as to what they did. I could go through all that, but I'm not going to, so I'll leave that with you.
No, in response to that, I mean, this item has come up, and we reviewed the Cemetery Act, then we went into the cemetery regulation, and then the interpretation that we got from that, that's us, is that it's sold to an individual. Now, in saying that, we are also redoing our cemetery bylaw as we speak. It's being redrafted to bring to council for consideration. So we'll investigate that more to ensure that we got our interpretation right, and talk to the province and the associated ministry and bring that back. But we are working on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
They feel strongly it was a misinterpretation, and it does say an individual can buy a lot, but it doesn't say an individual's name has to be on that lot under the Cemeteries Act.
Yeah,
So-
I went into the cemeteries regulation, which lays it out a little bit more. And that's just the way I interpreted it, but my interpretation could be wrong also. So
Yep, yeah.
we'll
Could be-
verify, so.
Anyway, I brought it forward, and that's where it's at, so I look forward to hearing about that.
Do you have more administrative inquiries?
Yeah, if I have, and the other one's just pretty generic. With the elections coming up and the convention coming up, I just want to ensure that we've got rooms booked for those people who are running already, so that
Yeah.
we're not a mile away. The other part of that is, I'm hoping that we can maybe collaborate with the county and book the same hotels as the county when there's conventions where there's people going together. I think that when we stay in the same hotel as elected officials, it allows us to get together more often and have discussions and create a better working relationship with our county folks. So often we're in different hotels when we go to conventions, if we're got parties from both the town and the county. And I think there's been a couple times when we've been in the same hotel and the camaraderie has been much better. So I think moving forward, when there are conventions, if the county has people going, that we can maybe come up with same hotels for that reason, just to try to make our relationship that much tighter.
Well, to answer your question in two parts, I guess. So right now, there's 8 rooms booked to go to the Alberta Munis conference. And we'll have to find out from the new council of who's all attending. I think 'cause we have like a 2-day window to council rooms without paying it. So that's our plan there. And typically, if it's a joint conference, we do try to coordinate with Clearwater County on rooms. We did not for this one, because I don't even know if, to be honest with you, if they're attending this, because it's right after the election, and RMA will be doing the same thing. But no, we understand and try to coordinate.
Any other administrative inquiries? Not seeing any, so we'll move on. Are there any notice of motions today? No notice of motion, so we will take a quick, brief recess, and then we'll move into closed session. We're live? Okay. So we are back in live session, and I'm just looking for a motion to go into closed session. Councillor Musker. I believe your light isn't on. Yeah.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I move that we move into closed session.
Okay. Discussion on that motion? All those in favor? And we are now in closed session. Okay, we are back in live, or open session, so we do have a few motions coming out of closed session. Item 14.2, Councillor Caprero.
Thank you. I'll make a motion that we accept for information the Community Services Support Agreement.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Any discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. And item 14.3, Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I move that we accept item 14.3 for information.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion, and all those in favor? And that is carried. And item 14.4, Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
I'll make the motion to accept the CAO dialogue for information.
Okay, and thank you for that motion. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor? That is carried, and with our business being complete, I will adjourn the meeting at 11:30.